and welcome to this episode of Scrutiny. Scrutiny is my weekly deep analysis, research-based analysis on issues and topics that need further explanation and breakdown. And I think today nothing can be more important than what is being described as a historic decision taken in Parliament, where the bill called the Readjustment of Representation of Scheduled Tribes in Assembly Constituencies in the state of Goa Act 2025 was passed. I'll state this again. The Readjustment of Representation of Scheduled Tribes in Assembly Constituencies of the state of Goa Act 2025, which would finally determine the total number of constituencies in Goa which would be reserved for scheduled tribes. The number is going to be about 4, but which 4 is going to be finally determined after a committee or a commission goes into this and looks at the population, but will look at the 2011 census at this point of time to determine which of the 4 constituencies will finally be called the ST reserved constituencies across various parameters, which is also subjective because it talks of a substantial presence of scheduled tribes in that constituency. Anyway, we'll get into that in a bit. But the centre bringing in this much awaited act, because Goa was pushing for it, into force from August 6th, it will give representation to the scheduled tribes and they will have constituencies reserved for them, and we will have four ST MLAs from these reserved seats. But it changes the political calculations in the next assembly election in a very big way. And I'll tell you how. The 4 constituencies that are expected to be reserved are Quepem, Sanguem, Priol and Nuvem. These are the 4. There could be two others who could replace any of these 4, but right now we are looking at these 4. Kumbarjoa is somewhere in the vicinity, but right now we are talking of only Quepem, Sanguem, Priol and Nuvem. Now, if these constituencies are finally notified as ST constituencies, then 3 sitting MLAs will have to give up these seats and either go home or try their luck in other constituencies. They are Altone D'Costa, the Congress MLA from Quepem, Subhash Phal Dessai, a minister and the MLA from Sanguem, and Alex Sequeira in Nuvem, who is a defector, who was a Congress MLA defected to the BJP. So technically he is the sitting BJP MLA in Nuvem. They cannot contest again from their present constituencies, irrespective of whether they would have got tickets from their parties in any case or not, especially as far as Alex Sequeira is concerned. Only Govind Gaude, the ST MLA from Priol, can remain where he is if Priol, as it looks like, is finally notified as a ST reserved constituency. But this creates a political chain reaction, and this goes beyond the four seats where these MLAs are going to be displaced. Now let us start with Quepem. Now what does Altone D'Costa do? Because he defeated the former Deputy Chief Minister of Goa, Babu Kavlekar, in Quepem in 2022. And he has built his political base there, Altone. If Quepem becomes ST reserved, as it looks like, then he has to move. Now, which constituency will he look at? He'll look at a neighboring constituency of the same demographics, which is not an ST constituency. And Altone could look at Velim, or he could look at Navelim, but let's say he might look at Velim more than Navelim. But Velim already has a serious Congress claimant, Savio de Silva, because Savio, he came within 169 votes of defeating AAP's Cruz Silva, who ultimately won the seat. Savio polled 5-2 on votes. Cruz Silva 5390 votes. So the Congress will have to decide whether it wants to take out a candidate who lost so narrowly in favor of a candidate from Quepem. This needs to be looked at. The reservation of Quepem also closes the constituency for Babu Kawlekar, the veteran Congress turned BJP Deputy Chief Minister, because he has been attempting a political comeback. And what is interesting is, he belongs to the Dhangar tribe. Dhangars have not been given ST status, and he has been fighting for Dhangars to get the ST status, because Babu Kawlekar, of course, he is a very shrewd politician. He understood that Quepem could be a ST constituency, and he tried to preempt that, and he was consistently fighting for that status to be ST status to be given to the Dhangar community. That has not yet happened. So potentially, even Babu Kawlekar has to move out of Quepem. And that is his home, that is his backyard, that is where he does all his politics and business. Then you look at Sanguem, Subhash Phal Dessai. Now Sanguem creates an even bigger problem, because Subhash Phal Dessai is a sitting cabinet minister. If Sanguem becomes reserved, he needs another constituency. And Curchorem in neighboring Sanguem is an option. But is it an option? Because Curchorem already has a sitting MLA Nilesh Cabral, who already has got wind of the fact that the parties may not be giving him a ticket, because he has spoken out very openly. He indicated. Now Nilesh Cabral, he defeated Amit Patkar by only 672 votes in the last elections. But there is another person called Rohan Desai, who is another BJP figure who is in the vicinity, or who is seen as a candidate from Curchorem. So right now, Cabral, who is a sitting MLA, will have to watch out for Subhash Phal Dessai coming into his constituency. And there is already an existing, so quote-unquote, problem in Rohan Desai sitting there. So Cabral already has had a problem with Rohan Desai, and he's told the party that he's not very happy, and he wants the party to decide once and for all whether they'll give him a ticket or not. And now he has to battle with the Subhash Phal Dessai factor. So the BJP has 3 people now competing for the Curchorem ticket. Phal Dessai, of course, could look also towards Kunkuli, where the BJP hardly has any base. But to be honest, the BJP is not even trying to do much in Kunkuli. So far, Yuri Alemao has been given a field, an open field to play with. The BJP, even the council members in Kunkuli, do not oppose Yuri Alemao. And it's a very nice, friendly community of BJP and Congress working in Kunkuli. So Kunkuli is kind of very, very comfortable. So BJP is not even trying to do anything there. It is very comfortable, and Yuri does not have any opposition there. Now, let us look at Priol. Govind Gaude in Priol is the only one who's comfortable, because he's an ST and he represents an ST constituency. Or it will be an ST constituency in all likelihood if this is finally notified. Govind Gaude again is clear. He won, though he won Priol very narrowly, only by 213 votes against Deepak Dawlikar. But this reservation does not make the constituency unsafe for him in terms of reservation. But politically, he is not on a very good ground, though it gives him an advantage now since he's an ST incumbent. Also, Govind Gaude has got a big lease of life. Without this reservation, Govind Gaude's position was a little sticky politically. But because of these reservations, the BJP will need ST candidates, and there definitely is one of them. Now we come to Nuvem. The BJP, very honestly, has never been very serious about constituencies like Nuvem. It has put up candidates for the sake of it, and it has managed with people crossing over to the BJP. So all that has happened. Previously also you had Baba Shan in the Congress who crossed over to the BJP. So Nuvem, BJP has played defection politics. But in any case, Alice Sequeira was not going to be fielded from Nuvem in any case. But however, technically, now if the reservations come in, he's blocked out anyway. And it need not be a political decision, it has to be a reservation decision. It will be a reservation decision. But one name that can come into play because of this reservation is Anthony Barboza from the neighboring Kurturi constituency. Because he's a STP leader, ST leader, he contested the 2022 elections from neighboring Kurturi. And he has operated in that belt. He has done some work in Quepem, Sanguem, Priol, Nuvem, all that he has done, so he could come up as one alternative from there. But Nuvem is a real test for the BJP if it is really interested. And that is where it lies. Now let us look at two ST MLAs from the BJP who are in constituencies that may not be reserved. They will still be general constituencies. And though there is no bar in tribal leaders contesting in general constituencies, but this could lead to two challenges. So challenge number one, BJP, in order to field candidates in the ST reserved constituencies, may have to pull out ST candidates from non-reserved seats to fight in the reserved seats. That is one. The second information that I have politically and through sources and others, obviously this will never be made public, that Amit Shah, in a meeting with Pramod Sawant in Delhi, one of his recent meetings when Pramod Sawant had gone there to lobby for the ST reservations, Amit Shah had told Pramod Sawant this, that if the ST reservation is passed in the parliament, then our ST MLAs cannot contest in non-reserved constituencies. This was a political message given by Amit Shah. It's not a constitutional message. It was a political directive given. Now, if this political directive still holds, if Amit Shah's directive still holds, then Ramesh Tawadkar cannot contest in Kankon because it will not be a reserved constituency, though he is an ST. The similar situation applies to Ganesh Gaonkar in Savarde, since Savarde will not be a reserved constituency and Ganesh Gaonkar is a ST person who should ideally be contesting in an ST seat or not contest at all if Amit Shah's orders have to be followed. Now this is where it lies. So Tawadkar then, in that case, could move towards Sanguem because Subhash Phal Dessai has to leave Sanguem. And Ganesh Gaonkar will have to look for any of the other reserved constituencies within the BJP's final ticket arrangement. So therefore, the party has to balance Govind Gaude, Ramesh Tawadkar, Ganesh Gaonkar, Anthony Barboza, all these ST aspirants, while simultaneously finding the political space for the non-ST leaders displaced from those same seats. So it's a bit of a jugglery. And the problem applies more to the BJP than to the Congress simply because BJP has more sitting MLAs. The Congress has only 3. That is why this could affect candidate selection in more than 4 constituencies, though only 4 constituencies will be reserved. But however, so I've explained to you what the political ramifications are going to be. Now let me take you to the history of the struggle for scheduled tribes reservation. We spoke about the political fallout, but the history is very important to mention in this discussion. Because the whole issue of ST reservations began because Goa's main tribal communities, the Gaudas, the Kunbis and the Velips, they were recognized as scheduled tribes only in 2003. After the 2001 census had already been conducted. The 2001 census recorded an ST population of 566 as per the 2001 census. Okay, I'm talking of much before. I'm not talking of 2011. I'm talking of right in the beginning. In the 2001 census, the ST population was only 566. And that did not include the Gaudas and the Kunbis and the Velims because they were recognized only in 2003. So look at the issue. The 2011 census recorded the ST population without including the Gaudas, the Kunbis and the Velips. And your entire ST reservation is actually meant for these communities who are not part of the 2001 census. If you understand what I'm trying to say. Therefore, the delimitation process was based on that census, and Goa ended up with an assembly constituency without any assembly constituency reserved for the scheduled tribes. However, that was then. However, in the 2011 census, I'm talking of 2001, now I'm talking of 2011. In the 2011 census, the scheduled tribe population was recognized as 149,275, which means 1,49,275, let's say 1.5 lakhs. This was 10.23% of the state's population. In a 40-member assembly, a population of around 10% provides the basis for a demand of 4 seats. So I'm only explaining to viewers how 4 seats will come to be reserved. Because people will ask, why 4 seats? 10.23% of the population belongs to the STs, which is about, now if you look at in a 40-member assembly, if you look at a roughly little more than 10% population, you ultimately get 4 seats as per the percentage of the population. So 10%, 40 seats, 40-member assembly, 4 seats to be reserved. Simple calculation. Yet, there was no ST reserved constituency at that time. This was the grievance of the tribals. 2011, there was an assembly resolution that was passed. This is crucial. On January 18, 2007, the Goa Legislative Assembly passed a resolution supporting political reservation for the scheduled tribes. Before that, the United Tribal Association Alliance called UTA was formed in 2004, bringing these tribal organizations together to press for political reservation. And it is not just about reservation. Why? Reservation for what? Reservation for government land. Reservation to ensure that these communities can fight for government land, for employment, for land and forest rights, and other benefits promised to the ST communities. This is why they were fighting. So obviously, but the frustration increased. As and when things were not happening, frustration increased. Then came Bali, May 25th, 2011. Mark this date. There was a massive incident. 2 people lost their lives during a demonstration by the frustrated STs in Bali. On May 25th, 2011, there was a major UTA agitation. Thousands of tribal protesters participated, and the confrontation with the forces led to the deaths of Mangesh Gaonkar and Dilip Velip. Mangesh Gaonkar and Dilip Velip are seen by the tribals as martyrs of the ST agitation, and on the day when this reservation was notified by Parliament, all the scheduled tribe people in Goa remembered these 2 martyrs, and they felt that their sacrifice, ultimate sacrifice, was not in vain because reservation has happened. These deaths became a defining moment in the entire agitation, entire Goa's tribal movement actually. But remember, the agitation that happened in Bali was not just about 4 seats. It was about political reservation, of course, but it was about filling government vacancies that tribals should have got, filling the backlog of government posts, tribal welfare funds which do not reach the tribals, forest rights which are denied to tribals, protection of tribal lands which was not given, and stronger institutional safeguards for the community. The fight was for all of this. That is why political reservation, they felt, was a vehicle towards these demands getting fulfilled. After that, there was a long delay. There were attempts after Bali to resolve this political reservation issue, including legislative efforts at the center. In 2013, after Mr. Manohar Parrikar came to power in 2012, it was expected that these problems would be resolved. Then it went into cold storage. Then came 2023. Fatorda MLA Nilesh Desai wrote a letter to the Union Parliamentary Affairs Minister Kiran Rijiju, reminding the centre of Goa's demand and pressing for a mechanism to provide ST-ST political reservation. Then on July 21st, 2023, the Goa Assembly again unanimously adopted a resolution supporting this greater political reservation or a representation for the scheduled tribes. This referred to the 2011 ST population of 10.23% and reinforced what the Assembly had already supported in 2007, as I earlier mentioned. This chronology is very, very important because Parliament had to create this special mechanism for Goa, because normal delimitation across the country could not have been reopened. Therefore, this readjustment of representation of scheduled tribes in the assembly constituencies of the state of Goa bill was introduced on the 5th of August 2024, passed in Lok Sabha on 5th of August, passed in Lok Sabha on the 5th of August 2025, exactly a year later, passed by the Rajya Sabha in 2025 and subsequently became law, but it was not notified. I'll do the dates again. August 5th, 2024, it was introduced in the Lok Sabha. August 5th, 2025, it was passed by the Lok Sabha. August 11, 2025, passed by the Rajya Sabha. Today's 26 was not notified till now. Now also, what is most important is this whole issue of census. You see, even now, the census issue is important because the census commissioner needs to ascertain or estimate the ST population. And he has to do it after accounting for the communities that were brought into the ST status. And that is important. And therefore, the current demographics, of course, in the 2011 census, the ST population was taken into account, as I said, 150, that is there in the 2011 census. But we are talking of 2011, today is 2026. There could be a huge change in demographics between 11 and 26 as well. And that is why there could be a legal challenge to this, stating that the representation will not be fair because you are taking a census figure which is 15 years earlier. Now this is important. That is why the final population figures and constituency-wise percentages are actually very important. Now, after Parliament passed the law, the reservation had still not happened because the centre had to formally bring the act into force. And that is why it was lingering. And this delay of 1 year created more anger amongst the people. Tribal leaders stepped up the pressure, UTA was revived, and the community made it clear that the law on paper was meaningless unless reservation was implemented before the 2027 assembly election. And finally, as I said, on August 6, 2026, 2 days ago, the centre notified the act. This is an important political victory in the Goa scheduled tribes and ultimately a very significant landmark. Now let us look at the final phase of this scrutiny, as I'm mentioning to you, and where I ask a very important question. Will the 4 reserved seats complete the tribal agenda? That is important. You will have 4 constituencies. There will be 4 MLAs from the reserved constituencies and others maybe. But then will it complete the tribal agenda? Will this completely solve all issues regarding tribals? Because don't issues still exist with regard to government jobs, with regard to vacancies, forest rights, tribal lands, welfare benefits, and the actual implementation of schemes meant for the tribals. I'll give you just one example. By March 31st, 2026, Goa received 10,346 claims under the Forest Rights Act. Meaning people wanted titles in forest lands, the tribals wanted 10,346 forest rights claims for land. Out of the 10,000 odd claims, only 1,047 titles were distributed. Let's look at this. Thousands of claims are still unresolved. This is important. Nearly 20 years after the law was initially, Forest Rights Act was initially implemented or initially enacted, you still have people fighting for forest rights. Therefore, beneath this reservation lies the struggle of the people. And this struggle needs to be recognized and will not be fulfilled only by reserving these constituencies. And that is very, very critical. So when 4 ST MLAs finally enter the Goa Assembly next time from the reserved constituencies, the real test will not be whether they've got more political power, but whether they can use that power to give jobs, forest rights, land protection, dignity and prestige, and ensure that the schemes meant for tribals ultimately reach their doorsteps or their bank accounts. Political reservation has reached the finishing line, but the larger tribal struggle has not. This is the scrutiny of today, and I'm Shujoy Gupta. Please keep following, subscribing and supporting Inc. Goa for more such explanations, for more such in-depth analysis on issues that you may probably not be getting from elsewhere. Thank you very much.